If you could first introduce yourself and let us know what shop you represent.
My name's Will Walker. I own Green Valley Auto in Green Valley, Arizona.
So now that you've completed the Real Insiders Boot Camp, what do you plan to do with this new information that has been given to you today?
Actually, I'm excited to go home and try to instigate most of these ideas right away into my shop and help adjust our performance and become a better group altogether.
How do you feel Terry and David's guidance and instruction has helped you improve where you are?
Well, before, I always thought I knew what I was doing, but I never could prove it, and they actually showed me the way where I could actually become a business owner, train and hire the right people, make the adjustments to where I could really enjoy my business instead of being held hostage by it.
What would $60,000 more in your business do every month? That puts you over that edge, make you feel comfortable, give you a little security. And if they'll listen just a little bit longer, I'll be able to teach them just a little bit more. Anticipate their needs. Try to understand what it would feel like to be in that position and just solve it for them. Image is about creating a situation where people feel comfortable. The first thing I want to talk about with Image is Everything is the idea of looking in the mirror. Hopefully that's not what you see. There's three key points that we often overlook. And the first one is our appearance. And I can't tell you how many shop owner friends I have that think nothing of pulling an all-night bender and then rolling into the shop with red eyes and pasty-looking complexion and pretty well ready to be hospitalized. I want my staff to reflect an image that creates trust. And it's very difficult to do if they look like they've been drinking and drugging all night. So I set an example for them. I'll tell you an easy one is I keep a little bottle of Visine in my truck. Now I personally don't usually pull all-night benders because Terry has me slaving until midnight. But the fact of the matter is sometimes you get tired. Take a look at yourself before you walk in. You're going to find that your employees will follow your example. If they see you cleaning yourself up, making things square in case you're not, they're going to be more likely to cooperate there. Another key point to this is attitude. You know, I'm kind of a drill sergeant. Could you have guessed that? I'm pretty strict with what I expect from my staff and how we carry out policy. Okay, I'm a very caring manager, but I'm only that nice, caring guy if those standards are being met. Otherwise, I'm pretty stiff. But a key point I learned in being a strict manager is that it's up to me to set the pace every morning. And if I'll come in and be upbeat and be walking fast with a purpose, not dragging my fanny, and if I'll look at people in the eye, hey, how are you today? And how's your wife doing? Man, how are the kids? You see, it's key. Because if they can start their day by plugging in to some sincere consideration, to a manager who wants them to perform but cares about them, it sets the pace and it sets an attitude. Have you ever noticed that if you go in and you're having a particularly bad day, and it doesn't matter if you're the service writer, the manager, the owner, anybody who's kind of in a leadership position comes in and having a really bad morning and you're not really very friendly. Have you ever noticed how that kind of spreads around and everyone's kind of in a funk by lunchtime? We have more comebacks. We have more damage. We have more customers' cars get nicked and bumped and door dings and nonsense like that on those days where we're not connected. I'm not kidding you. You know, in our shop, an average day will take in about 45 cars. Okay, it's not really hard to get good statistics when you're running that many cars a week. Pretty soon you can tell the difference between a day that really kicked and a day that was dragging or a day that had a lot of comebacks. I can tie it almost every time to how we started that day. Now, the next idea I want to talk about is something called subconscious projection. I learned this concept when I was a young man and I was working for a company called Steak and Ale. For those of you that don't know who Steak and Ale is, they own Bennigan's, okay? Bennigan's is owned by 3 lawyers in Texas, all right? Those we all know about lawyers. They're pretty smart. They usually come up with big $10 words like that. But the idea was this. They trained us as a wait person or a bartender. Somebody's nearing the end of their beverage, and you'd come up and you'd go, "Hi, Barb. Would you like another cocktail?"
Sure.
Yeah, it's hard to say no when I'm doing this, isn't it? Okay? Now, I'm not going to teach you to be unethical and to move your customers into buying things they don't want to. I don't think that's an ethical thing. But I find it an interesting point that a company as large as Steak and Ale finds that to be an effective enough method that they actually train it to every single wait person that they hire. Okay? So what I will teach you about subconscious projection are certain things. First of all, gaudy jewelry. No mas. If you're the kind of person to wear the bling bling around the neck, and we have the chains and the rings, and we're dripping all this silly stuff, would you like to know that your customer is sitting there looking at all that stuff wondering which item they're paying for today? That's exactly what they're thinking. Okay? So you need to think about your appearance. You need to think about what you're projecting. What are you putting out there? Taking off at lunchtime, if you're the owner or the manager, to go play 4 or 5 quick rounds of golf, your employees aren't exactly getting the idea that work comes first, okay? Flashy stuff. I walked into a shop a couple of years ago. A gentleman asked me in Texas to come and help him with his management situation. They were losing money. In fact, they were bleeding, okay? We walk in, the first thing I see, by the tech washroom, this guy has a big Harley, brand new. He had at least 30 grand in customization on his Harley. He's parking it outside the tech washroom. Every time a technician needed to wash his hands, he has to walk by this Harley and realize what he just got dirty for. Not for his kids, not for his bike, but so that manager could have a $50,000 machine out there that not one of those technicians is going to be able to afford this year. Now, personally, that'd make me mad. Personally, I'd be offended. Okay? So I can only imagine what each one of those technicians went through the 15 or 17 times a day they had to go into that washroom. And I'm here to tell you, what you project and what you give out is what you get back. If they get the feeling that they're making you rich, and I don't care if you're the service writer, the owner, the manager, I don't care what your position is, if you have any kind of leadership position, and believe me, people, in case you haven't been informed, if you're a service writer, you pretty much are running your shop one way or the other. You're controlling the pace. You're controlling the morale. You're controlling the company's profit. So you are a leader. Whether you are willing to accept that responsibility and recognize it, those people are looking up to you. They're looking to you for solutions all day long. So what you project is what you get back. They feel like you're taking from them. They feel like they're working for something that they may or may not want you to have. Now you got a problem. Now you got a problem. Another thing that we hear a lot of in management training, and I'm really not big on these buzzwords. Anybody ever see that little email that went around a few years ago called BS Bingo? The one where you're supposed to wait for the speaker to say certain words, and then you jump up and yell BS as loud as you can across the room. Well, it hit me in the heart because I was just waiting for the first class I went into where people started doing that. Okay, but the idea is these buzzwords that everybody uses. Empowerment, empowering language. Okay, that's a buzzword. Usually it doesn't mean anything. Please allow me to help it mean something. Empowering language is all about giving someone a feeling that they are capable and that you do believe in them. If I look at one of my employees and I say, Brent, do this, he'll do it. Sure he will. But how's Brent feeling about that, and how well is he going to do it, and how personal is it going to be when it gets done? And if part of whatever this is involves one of my clients, how are they going to feel when he's done? Because I just sent him into that with a big sharp kick in the pants. That's not really how I want him to go. But if I were to look at him and to say, gee, Brent, you know what? You're probably the best one in the organization to do this. I could do it, but this is your area of specialty. You're excellent at this, and I trust you to do a better job than even I can. Would you please take care of this for me, man? It's a whole different feeling, isn't it? Part of projecting faith and confidence is making sure that everyone on your team, whether they're your subordinate, your coworker, your employee, your boss, whoever they are to you, your wife, they need to know what they mean to you. Okay? You don't have to get all mushy. I'm not telling you to get the whole group of techs together in the morning and have a group hug. Although we threaten that to one of my techs whenever he's out of line. But what I'm telling you is make sure they know their value. When I introduce one of my technicians to a vendor or to another visiting shop owner or to another new employee, I don't just come up and say, oh, hey, this is Jim, my shop foreman. I come up and say, hey, this is Jim. He's been with the company for about 10 years. He's got my utmost trust. Jim takes his work seriously. He's committed to not only the quality of his work, but to the attitude he projects around the shop, and that's why he's in charge here. So meet Jim, okay? Now think about that. How'd you like to be introduced like that? Another thing that we see a lot of, and I mean a lot of, and that's people flashing the cash, okay? Notice, you know, see any diamonds on here? Didn't see me roll up in a limo last night. Won't see me leaving one today either. I think I got a minivan. It's kind of cool. But think about this. If everything's all about the money to you, keep that quiet. Again, whether you're an owner, a service writer. I didn't understand, you know, when I first went to work for Terry 10, 12 years ago, I had my own means. I had my own ways of making money long before I met him. I had my eyeballs on a brand new, big, fancy, completely blinged out Cadillac, and I wanted that car. And I talked to Terry about it because I knew he was a GM man, and I knew he was pretty familiar with them. And I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, over my dead body. So why? He said, geez, Dave, don't you get it? You're going to come rolling up in that big $50,000 hoopty every day, and the rest of the staff are going to be looking at that, and they're going to want to know about that. They're not going to feel real good about that. And I really felt deprived. I mean, I'm thinking, gosh, is this how it's going to be my whole life? I'm not going to be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor? Well, the economy crashed a few years later, and I was really stinking happy I didn't have that $1,000 car payment. But I found that one of my sources of pride and one of the reasons my staff works so well for me and with me is because I've gone the other way. I bought a truck several years ago, bought it a year old, took care of it, did all my fluids, all my filters, try to set the example for them that I want them to hold. I have 120,000 miles on that truck. I'm going to go for 250. Still looks nice, still looks new. People still ask me, is that a brand new one? That's pride, see? And the employees respect that because they know that I'm doing what they've studied all their lives. I'm following what they do and what they teach. I'm keeping my maintenance up. I'm taking care of my equipment. I'm saving money by not having car payments. All the things I'd like them to do, okay? Don't flash that cash. Now, you're going to hear some references today, and some of them are going to be medical. I strongly urge you to absorb as much of that concept of medical and automotive similarities as you can. When you're service writing, when you're explaining a problem, when you're unwinding an unhappy customer, how many times has somebody come in and said, I paid $90 for this diagnosis and you still don't know what's wrong? I want my money back. You know, I don't know about you, but I've been to the doctor at least 20 times in my life where they did a test or an x-ray and they didn't know what was wrong. I don't recall in one instance getting any of my money back. In fact, usually it meant going someplace else and paying a specialist a whole lot more money to do a bunch of more tests. And it never even crossed my mind to go in there and slap them on both sides of their face, tell them they're thieves and criminals and call the Better Business Bureau and AAA. Never once. Think about it. They put on that white coat and we all feel so inferior. Grown men. Donald Trump, I bet, when he goes into the doctor, goes in there a little scared. I don't know if it's the glove thing. Snap. Or I don't know if it's just the fact that those guys use $20 words, you know. I don't suggest either method. I've tried the gloves at the counter. It doesn't really work. But the idea with the $20 words isn't really good either. But let me show you a couple of concepts. One, where do we really operate? And this is a question. Would anyone like to take a pop at that? Where do we really operate? Bob, go for it, man.
Well, we operate in a very personal environment, and dealing with the customers is something that is really, I guess, a lot of them are really attached to those vehicles, are really personally attached, and they're concerned about, if it's for their family or for their getting back and forth to work or whatever. So in an environment that we have to take special care of what that's dear to them.
You're 100% right. I like to take that even one more step and say that where we really operate is within the community. And you're right. You kept saying they and care, and you talked in plural. So you're really talking about your community, aren't you, your neighborhood? I mean, it's funny. A lot of people say, well, we operate up at the front counter. Or, gee, we operate back in the bays. But the truth is, it's a lot closer to what Mr. McGarland just said. We operate within the community. It's all about how people feel and their perception, right? I'll tell you a little thing, you know. I go to the grocery store. My grocery store is literally 2 minutes from my shop. It's right down the street. My house is 2 minutes from there. So everywhere I go, I'm surrounded by my customers or my potential customers. Some of you are nodding heads, so I know you know what I mean. Especially in some of the more rural communities. I mean, everybody knows everything about everybody. You dare not sneeze, okay? And where I live, I mean, fact is, I'm on television every week. I was on the radio for 5 years. Everybody knows me. They recognize my voice when I call in. Hey, aren't you the guy from the radio? Scary, man. I can't even have a 30-second road rage without it being broadcast throughout my entire customer base in 15 minutes. I can't afford to flip somebody off if they do something horrible. I can't. It's going to cost me money. My average repair ticket at my shop's about $500. That bird is not worth $500. I'd rather bite my lip till it bleeds. Okay? When I go to the grocery store, I'll grab my cart and I'll start pushing along and I'll be shopping and I'll run into Mrs. Jones over here. Mrs. Jones, the first thing she does, oh, hi, David, and she looks right in my cart. Now, if that thing's full of cigarettes, pornography, 3-2 beer, and whatever other embarrassing items, that's not really going to project an image for my shop that I want these people to have. And I apologize if I offend anybody. I don't mean to do that. But you understand what I'm saying. Everything we do, we're under the microscope. And we're under the microscope in the community. Everywhere we go. This is the key to life, folks. Our shop does over $60,000 per month in referral business. Imagine how much advertising I'm not buying if I'm doing $60K in referral business. What would $60,000 more in your business do every month? That puts you over that edge, make you feel comfortable, give you a little security? I promise it would. You can double your referred business with one simple move. If you're not doing follow-up with your customers, calling them, and talking to them about every repair order, get on the phone on Monday and start with everybody from 30 days back and start pounding. If you have 2 service riders, call each other's, because oftentimes a customer who is uncomfortable or unhappy with one person doesn't really feel comfortable telling that same person they're unhappy. Even if you're the owner and then you have an employee that maybe could help you out, that's nice with the customers, have the employee call the owner's customers and the owner call the employee's customers. I know it sounds silly, but sometimes they might not be all that happy with the owner. You know, they might be happy with me. I mean, everybody says I'm such a great customer service guy, but, you know, I've also been told I'm like a piece of sandpaper, about a 10 grit. So some people don't find me all that fun to be around. And it's better for me to have that feedback than to get a smiley face on my paper and not ever see him again. So rather than me call them and kind of try to soften it up, I'd much rather them unload on one of my other guys and say, you know what, that David guy, you know, he talks too fast. He read me 15 items. I think he's trying to sell me stuff I don't need. Whatever they're concerned about, I want to know. Because I can adjust what I do if I know. If I don't know, I can't fix it. That is the first step to doubling referral business. Follow through. Now, say you're already doing that. You're feeling cheated right now. Well, I can't double my business. I'm already doing that. Sure you can. Here's number 2. Okay? Each one of us has people in our customer base that have to network for a living. That's how they survive. Mary Kay ladies, Avon ladies, realtors, mortgage brokers. If you're not writing, you're losing money. Bankers, anybody who has to sell, insurance people. Last month, my realtor stopped in to get an oil change. He has to get one of those about once a month, which makes me really happy. As he stopped in, he was standing at the counter, and I remembered that he sent me one time a little coupon and a letter thanking me for using his services. And in the letter was a little bitty free scoop of ice cream from Baskin and Robbins. Okay? Cheap, cheap, cheap. Didn't cost him a thing, but I thought it was nice. I thought it was kind of cool. Even though I probably won't go to Baskin and Robbins, what a nice gesture, right? Was I'm standing at the counter, I just remembered that, and I wanted to thank him for it, and as I started to say thank you, it dawned on me, what am I doing? John, how are you? Thanks for coming in today. Hey, partner, I remember this little coupon you sent me for a free scoop ice cream, and I wanted to thank you for it. And I wondered, would you be interested in some of my nice little classy-looking business cards here that have half-price oil change on there? Would you like to send those out to your clients? He's like, well, gosh, David, I'd love to. Are you sure you can do that? I said, sure, John. How many customers on your list? 2,500. 2,500 people in my neighborhood got a referral letter from my realtor with a half-price oil change coupon in it that never expires. And the next thing you know, his customer base is my customer base. You understand? You could double your referral business on Monday before 9:30 if you'll get on the phone and call those people you know. It will happen. Think of each one of them and find a way to tie them into your business. Now, just so you know, everywhere I go, I have at least 10 business cards on me to share with people. And we knew how many people were going to be in this room today. If you just kind of turn around and look on the corner of that table, John, sitting that closest to you, you'll see about 600 business cards. Even if each of you took 10 of them, I'd still have some left to hand out on the way to the airport. Okay? Because if you don't ask, you don't get. Try going into a steak restaurant and not saying anything and see what comes for dinner. Ask for it. Okay? Another thing I want to touch real quickly are credentials. Folks, listening to my introduction this morning, I was a little bit embarrassed. Listening to something like that, and I've learned this on the radio and on television. First part was tough, was hearing my own voice. I couldn't even do that on the answering machine for 20 years. But after you get past that, then the next thing, the tough thing to do, is to listen to somebody else talk about who you are and what you do. It's a tough thing. It's hard to spout your own stuff, and it's even harder to sit and listen to somebody else do it without blushing. But the fact of the matter is if you don't know that I'm a service writer, and you don't know that I've been in the Automotive Service Association for years, and you don't know that I've already gone through these classes and got my AAM, and if you don't know that I've been helping shop owners all over the country, then really who am I? I'm just another guy up here with a tie on trying to pump you full of smoke you're going to go back with nothing, right? Pretty much. I mean, really, without the credentials, that's all you got. On the back of my business cards of my repair shop, we went ahead and spent the money and printed the backs too. It is more expensive. It costs a couple more cents. But what we've done is we've taken our associations and our credentials, just the ones that mattered to us, Better Business Bureau, #1 shop in the nation, CarQuest Excellence Award, AAA, the things that we believe that when the customer looks at it, they're going to go, wow, that's not like the last shop I saw. And that unique and meaningful difference, that identity, those are the things. Every chance you get, touch somebody and impress upon them who you are, what you stand for, and how you're going to do it. Those credentials will set you apart from the guy down the street. That doesn't mean he's any worse than you. It's just different. You're singing a song. Hopefully somebody will want to stick around and hear. I prefer to do mine in ink and paper because when I start singing, the room clears. There's a funny statement on the bottom here, another medical reference, and it says we're only good as a trauma team. Visualize this. The shop closes at 6 o'clock, 5:55, the phone rings. It's a lady's voice on the phone. She's breaking up on a cell. It's pretty unusual, huh? And then she's telling you, hey, I'm on the side of the highway. I'm stuck. I can't get the car to start back up, and I got the kids in the back. I know you're about to close. What do I do? You got a real tough choice to make. We all know that waiting around for that tow driver to get there in rush hour and get that truck back to the shop is going to be a good hour, hour and a half proposition. We all know that by the time they do, we can't do anything about it anyway because the techs are all going to be home. We all know that even getting in the middle of this is going to be an ordeal tonight. But I'll tell you something. To her, it's a trauma. To her, it's an emergency. To her, she chose you. She chose you. She made the choice. The battery was going dead on the cell phone. She chose to call you. She trusted you. She put her trust in you. You're only as good as what you do next. If you will do what the job takes, if you'll take care of her, get her out of that car, or him, or whoever, get them out of that car, get the kids home, get them safe, tell them, yes, ma'am, you're right, we close, but that doesn't matter. We never close the door on a customer who needs us. What's going to happen is something that you can't advertise for, something that you can't do in a normal repair situation, can you? He's nodding back there. Hold on. It's true. In a normal repair situation, I don't get a chance to show you how much I care. I don't get to show you where my heart is, okay? This is something that the big companies won't do. The dealers, big dealerships, huge ones, I've never seen it anyway, okay? This is where us little guys, and we're one of the little guys, can really make a unique and meaningful difference. It's where we can create our identity. We're the people that care more about our people than we do about the money. An amazing thing that happens when that happens. The money gets forgotten. And now it's all about what I need and who I trust to do it, and nobody else is touching my car but you. And that's a nice feeling. You can't buy that. Folks, if you're not using some kind of uniforms in your shop, please do. Please do. It's a new time. It's a new age. When I went into my shop, Terry's shop, I should say, they had everybody in some uniforms, which I thought was really cool. But everybody had the same one on. All the people in the front of the house wore polos, and everyone in the back wore the tech uniform, like the GM tech shirts. It's good. Better than most, okay? But I noticed something. Whenever somebody was upset, or they had a concern, or the customer felt that they were a particularly big ticket or had some special, everybody's special, right, when they need something, they would have a difficult time discerning who was in charge, who to ask for this help or who to complain to. And they, tell every one of us, well, I want to talk to the manager. Well, I am the manager. They kind of look around to make sure nobody else looked like the manager. So what I did was I took the guys that I wanted to handle the problems, the ones that I knew. I had two key men up front that I knew the answers, knew what to do. They knew the routines, they knew the policies, and I put them into button-down shirts. And then my counterman, who signs everybody in, signs everybody out, does the pre-selling and preventative maintenance and all that, he handles the money, he's wearing a polo. So they know if they've got a little problem, they're not going to tie up my guy who needs to be moving people in and out as fast as he can. They're going to look for one of those shirts, all right? And it's really simple for them to look over there when that guy stands up and says, yes, sir, may I help you? They don't ask who's the boss. They know he's the boss, all right? That little bit of separation helps both with the customer and with the employee, okay? It's good for the employees to know who's in charge when they look across the room, too. If you feel like you should camouflage your manager so your employees can't see him coming, I suggest you change employees. Maybe the manager, too. Also, when I went to work for Terry, and I'm so sorry, Terry, you might want to leave now. They had a guy in there that had a tattoo of a 666 on his head, working the counter. I'd like you to know we're in the most conservative, Christian, Republican county in Colorado. There is more blue blood and stiff backs than any other place in Colorado. I'm not joking. It's Republican from one corner to the other of every room you're in. Don't you dare say anything nice about Hillary or you will get run out of town on a rail. It's scary, okay? Now to have this guy in here, and the same thing goes for blue hair, face rings, whatever. Now listen to me. Downtown Denver is okay to do that. It is. Because 1 out of 3 customers is going to have some stuff hanging out of their face, or their hair is going to have 16 different neon colors. And so they are reflecting the neighborhood down there, and that's fine. But if your customer, your average customer, is a business person and they're coming in clean cut and they're professional and polite, I would suggest that you do your best to make sure that you and everybody in your shop has that same appearance. Okay? If you got a hippie at the front counter and everybody that comes in has one of these, it's not going to be a real comfortable trust environment. Image is about developing trust before we open our mouths. Image is about creating a situation where people feel comfortable. So make them feel comfortable. If you're not doing that with your image, straighten that out immediately. It's not a hard thing to do. The other thing that I want to get into real quickly, and we talked a little bit about posture and presence, but let's talk about visual and olfactory images. Had a customer for years, this guy walk in the front door. His name was Larry. He was a realtor. I don't know why I keep picking on realtors today. But Larry would come in, and the minute my front door is about as far away as that young man is from me. The minute he'd open up that door and he'd give that winning smile, you got this rush. It was like a tidal wave of spearmint. And I mean, he'd come up to the counter and he'd talk to you and just, boy, it was fresh and crisp and cool. He dropped the room temperature by 2 degrees with all the Altoids he must have been eating. Okay? But it was a neat thing because you never minded if Larry got a little too close. You always wanted to stand and talk to him. Never made you uncomfortable. It was just a really strange thing. And I asked him one day, I was like, Larry, you know, we've been friends now for a couple of years. I got to ask you a question. He said, what? I said, man, how do you do that, you know? You smell like that chewing gum commercial looks. He said, man, I'll tell you what, David, I learned a long time ago that my breath is an olfactory handshake. If people like what they smell, what they see, if they want to be closer, then they'll listen to me just a little bit longer. And if they'll listen just a little bit longer, I'll be able to teach them just a little bit more. And they're going to make a better decision. It's true, folks. Underneath my counter at the front under every computer is a big box of Altoids. Okay? If I know it sounds kind of different to be talking about this, but understand, you know, it's a worthwhile investment to consider what people are feeling, smelling, hearing in your shop. When we did the extreme makeover on Terry's image in his shop, not Terry himself, we're still working on that, but sorry, T. When we made over his shop, what we did, we took all the tires out of the waiting area and all the batteries and everything, and we made it kind of like your grandmother's living room. Not the room she wouldn't let you sit on the furniture, but the other one, okay? We made it really comfortable and just really something we thought our customers would feel great in, and they'd love it. You know what? The coolest thing we got were 3 cards back from 3 of our female customers who said, thank you so much for getting that smell out of there. It was the smell of tires that they were talking about. Okay? It didn't reek. It wasn't like rotten groceries or something. But it was tires. They didn't want to smell that. Okay? And it's interesting how that was the thing that the most people commented on of all the things we did. I could have saved a heck of a lot of money and just got those tires out of there and hung some Renews-It in the corners, don't you think? The fact of the matter is that how we look, how we stand, how we address people is all part of what our power is. You know, I went and spoke with several people in the TV industry here a couple of weeks ago, actually a week ago. And they said to me, you know, you're a very powerful man. You're very strong. And I said, well, I don't know about that. I'm a farm boy, and I don't really know that much. I mean, I'd probably pick up that desk over there. But I don't know what you mean. He said, you got presence, man. You just fill the room when you walk in. People can feel you. I said, awesome, man. That's what I want them to do. I want them to feel me. Hopefully not too much of me, because then they might ask me to leave. That's happened before. But the key is, folks, is if people walk in and you've got these keys all lined up, and you really mean it and you're sincere about it, what's going to happen is you're going to have power over them, all right? You're going to be that person that they see or that business they see that has their act together, you know? We say something at our shop every day, and that is, you know what? I trust you guys. I trust you girls. I know that if I can get a customer to walk in the front door, that you're going to make them a lifer. That's confidence. That's confidence. When you walk through your shop, what do you see? Would you send your mother into your restroom? Be honest now. Be honest now. How many times a day are you going in your restroom and cleaning it up? Let me suggest to you, if you have 2 restrooms, one for ladies and one for men, put a little extra chair in the ladies' restroom or a bench or something so that they can set down their handbag or whatever else they thank you very much, ladies. Give me the nod. It's okay. So they can set stuff down and have their hands free without putting it on the sink where the water's going to splash. Okay? Make an effort to make people comfortable. You know, I remember Dear Abby years and years and years ago, there was a letter to her and about restroom cleanliness in restaurants. And she said the first thing that you should always do when you go to a restaurant is walk right into the bathroom and you'll be able to tell how much they care about their customers and what their kitchen's like. Man, if that's true, I'm lucky to be alive today. So I've gone in and washed my hands in places and eaten a cheeseburger, and I probably should have been killed with ptomaine poisoning or something. You know what I mean? But I'm here to tell you that the feeling is uncomfortable. And when somebody goes in there and feels that way, if they're not comfortable, now they're going to come up to the counter. Okay, first thing a lady's going to do after she's been on the road, or a guy's going to do after he's been on the road all day, is probably go to that restroom. Now they're going to come up to the counter to talk to you, and you're going to ask them for $2,000 to put that transmission back together, and they still need to go to the bathroom. They're hopping around doing one of these. They're not really paying attention to you right now. Okay? Take just a little bit of time and look at these things. Another thing I want to tell you about the image is that you certainly don't want to have furniture that isn't extremely comfortable. Granted, folks, look, I don't want people hanging out in my shop. The first thing I do with a customer when I can is get them in a car and drive them home. Okay, so it takes the pressure off. I don't have clocks on my walls. It's just like going to Vegas, man. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. I don't want you to worry about the minute of the time. You know, I don't want you up there asking me, is that oil change done yet? When are you going to be done? Because every time you stop me to ask me that, you're stopping me from one step in the process that would have made it that much faster. We all understand that, okay? But for the ones that are going to come and sit and be comfortable, make them comfortable. If you can have a couple of high-speed internet accesses in there, or you can create a Wi-Fi zone in your shop, do it. Get those business customers comfortable. Let them be able to work and do what they need to do. The less pressure, the less stress, the less concern they have with things like that, the more progress you're going to make. And the last thing I'm going to tell you is get every stinking piece of news out of your waiting area. No newspapers, no Life magazines, no Wall Street journals, nothing that's depressing. How do you suppose it is when Jimmy Joe Bob's sitting there reading the Wall Street Journal and he sees that every stock in the U.S. took a nosedive last week, and then he picks up this newspaper and sees that Cancun's a total mess and people are trapped there, and then he sees the Hurricane Katrina and all the oil wells are destroyed, and oh my goodness, gas prices are up at $3 a gallon. And now you're going to walk in there and go, yes, sir, well, there are a few concerns with your car today, and you're going to need about $2,300 to take care of that. And he realizes that he just lost 3/4 of his retirement fund overnight. You sure that's what you want them focused on when they're in your shop? I'd rather have, like, Travel Leisure Magazine, Smithsonian, Far Side, little comics. Make sure that you, when you do these kinds of things, that you flip through them and make sure you're not offending anyone, okay? But get some lighthearted, happy reading. I love the Better Homes and Gardens. The Southern Living's an awesome one. Great recipes and stuff. You know how I know what the best magazines are? They're the ones they steal. If they're stealing it month after month, hey, baby, that's a good one. I just get another subscription, you know what I mean? We get 2 of them in there. Outside, that's another great magazine because it just makes them happy. It makes them think about happy things, okay? Let's program it. Hey, man, Vegas is pumping in air and filling you full of booze all night. I'm not telling you to do that. But let's take a lesson from what they're doing and kind of control the environment and create an environment within which people are comfortable and they're willing to spend. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about, another pick. We're going to hammer on my shop all day today. We thought that we had it figured out because we had lots of certifications. We had gotten the publicity, the news stories, everything we could. We had it all over the walls, okay? As many shops do. The only problem is it looked like somebody had grabbed 2 handfuls of spaghetti and marinara and just thrown them up there. I mean, we were wall to wall, ceiling to floor, floor to ceiling, certs and everything everywhere. And you think, gosh, that's pretty impressive. That's a lot of certs. No, it's not pretty impressive because nobody could look at them. I mean, really, it was way too busy. Cut it down to the good stuff. Make it look very attractive. Make it easy for them to look at. I will give you a retailing secret right now. When a human being walks into a retail environment of any kind, the first thing they do is look right. Okay? So whatever you have to the right is what you want them to see first. Okay, in our shop, that's where our restrooms are and our customer convenience, coffee, sodas, blah, blah, blah. And then as they walk past that, if they don't need any of that, the next thing they see to the right are all these beautiful certifications, all the training and everything, and it's outlined very kind to the eyes. Our awards are up there, plaques, that sort of thing. Because that's what I want them to focus on before they come up to my counter. Think about this. Conducting your business in a socially responsible way is good business. It means that you can attract better employees and that customers will know what you stand for and they'll like you for it. Regardless of your beliefs, whatever your individual beliefs are, I think if you explore them and you think about it, if you had a choice between two businesses and one of those businesses did things that maybe you considered were good for your community or charitable, or maybe they support the school your children go to, aren't you going to be a little bit more likely to do business with that business, all other things being fairly equal? We all are. I mean, you support my interests, I'm going to support you. We have a thing in Colorado, it's called ABC, Always Buy Colorado. And you'll see it on people's license tags. It's actually an option you can get for a license plate that says Always Buy Colorado on it. And it's a big push to help keep our economy strong. I'm suggesting to you to do the same types of things. Find what you believe in. Let your customers know. One of the fun things we did in our little newsletter that we do, we put a thing out there that said, hey, we want to support what you want to support. So if you have a charity or a school or something that really matters to you personally, please let us know. Call us or send us an email or a letter, and that'll be our charity of the month next year. And we'll put it on our website, we'll put it on our newsletters, and we'll donate money to it. It's an amazing thing what happens. All these little kids come marching in the next year. Hey, will you support my baseball team, mister? And that is the coolest, funnest thing that we get involved in. For $50, I get to be a part of a state championship baseball team. Woohoo, let's go. You know? And for $50, I got all the parents of that team understanding that we cared a little bit about their kids and their family, and they're at least coming to see me or try us out. Tiny, tiny stuff that makes a big, big difference. Thank you very much.